Donna, it's great having you on again. It's exciting to see you. We did great work at the Minority Business Development Agency. So just for our listeners on, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this work.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Henry, for having me here. I really enjoy seeing you again and look forward to talking with you about the state of Black businesses and Black tech. And, I recently took on a new role at Georgia Tech as a Director of Diversity Engagement and Program Development for the Georgia Tech Enterprise Innovation Institute. And my journey has been really interesting. I came to Atlanta in 1990 to start my career over again, and had been in business, had owned my own business back in the days when they were doing telemarketing with a machine. And we were selling telemarketing dollars and selling advertising for companies. And so I moved here and landed at Georgia Tech's, what is now the Enterprise Innovation Institute, which was their economic development lab. And Georgia Tech has had an outreach economic development unit since the late 50s, when the engineers used to go out and bring new technology to the farmers for agriculture. So planting systems and sprinklers and things of that nature. So landed here and focused a lot on manufacturing. My original background is marketing and communication. So I helped build their program around quality systems and ISO 9000 for years, and then went on to really be the marketing manager for the whole business services group, which entailed quite a number of units and programs that we had under our economic development group. And then someone brought me, our business development person brought me the opportunity to open the Minority Business Development Agency, or MBDA Business Center. And I looked at that and I said, we really need to have that here at Georgia Tech. I think it would just be phenomenal to be able to bring these resources and expertise to the minority business community. And so up until that time, that was 2003, and we started in 2004 with the Business Center. Did some research for MBDA on manufacturing and the MBE manufacturer in 2013. And, really did a lot of focus group work around the MBE manufacturer. And as a result of that, we launched the MBDA Advanced Manufacturing Center. So, I can kind of say my journey's been interesting. I sort of fell into this work. I had not been working specifically in business development and work with minority businesses before that point. But since I've been in it, it's just really become a passion of mine. And I'm just really committed to helping to grow and strengthen our business community.
No, that's great. And it's much needed. And I want to talk to you a little bit about business development, because the word gets thrown out a lot, but I think people misuse it. Because, when I hear business development, people want to talk to me, and these are much needed, but, people want to talk to me about webinars and, stuff like that. But business development, if you're a business person, business development is all about revenue growth. So, the data out there, especially for Black businesses, I want to just focus on that for this interview.
Absolutely.
96% of Black businesses are sole proprietorships. That means only 4% of Black businesses have a single employee. So we hear all these stats about, the number of Black businesses is growing, but they're not scaling. So what do you think it's going to take to really get Black businesses to scale?
So that's a great question. I think that, first of all, I think based on what I've seen out here for the last, 17, 18 years, of course, there's historical factors. Most of our businesses are first generation, maybe second generation, and thus have not had the generational expertise of building businesses. That's number one. That is just what it is. I think more importantly, there's a difference. I always say there's a difference in being an entrepreneur and a business person. All entrepreneurs are not business people. All business people are entrepreneurs, in my opinion. And so I think we have a wealth of entrepreneurs out there, but not a wealth of business people who are entrepreneurs. And so many times our Black businesses start with what they know, or they have an idea. They have no really plan to grow a business. And so, and then I don't think they understand what scaling means. So, there's growth and then scale. So I can grow my business, I can hire a few employees, I can build my business to $1 million. But if I really want to scale, that really speaks to revenue. And you have to be able to say, hey, I want to grow, 20% year over year for the next 5 years. And at the same time that you're growing your revenues, you have to operate efficiently because you want to reduce your cost, right? So that's really what scaling is. And I don't think I don't think our community understands what that means. So a lot of times, some of my clients who are scaling, they have a plan. First of all, they have a plan. They know that they need resources. They try to build a team, which is a gap that we see quite a bit. It's just the leadership, having leadership, because what got you here where you are today as a business may not get you where you want to be. And that goes for your leadership, your team as well. So the team you have today may not be the team to get you the 20% revenue year over year. And I think, it comes down to education, and technical assistance, people who can really roll up their sleeves and help the companies. And I hear you, Henry, about the webinars. One of the things we did when I first, we first got the center years ago, because I had not played in this space, I really looked out on the horizon and said, okay, so what's out there? What is out there? And trust me, 15 years ago, as today, there was no lack of training programs and, places that people could go. But what we didn't see was the expertise to help companies implement. And so I think one of the challenges our businesses have with scaling is having someone who can help them do that. Someone's organizations that really just focus on getting you in there, having you understand what it takes to generate revenue 10%, 15% year over year for the next 5 years. What does that mean? What does that actually mean? So, we still have a lot of work to do. I can honestly say we've come a long way, because I'm standing here 15, 17 years later. And when I first came into the system, I see many more companies coming in with the end goal in mind. They want to sell it. Is it going to be a succession? Is it going to be a family business? How do I grow it? I need a leadership team. And I think that speaks to what we've been doing at the MBDA over the years, as well as our other stakeholders and partners throughout the country that are working hard to help build companies. And there is a difference between business development and, capacity building, just like and they kind of go hand in hand, because you can have business development where you're looking for revenue, but then you can develop your business internally as well. So that's why I tend to use capacity building and infrastructure when I'm talking about how are you going to get to the business development if you don't have the internal capacity. You don't have the leadership team. You don't have the technology. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, later. You don't have the technology. And of course, more importantly, you need the capital.
That's 100%. And so let's talk about Atlanta, because that's where you're at. And I remember when I was growing up, Harlem was really the, epicenter of Black talent, Black capitalism, but it's actually moved to Atlanta now. You see a lot. You see Atlanta's very vibrant Black population, very entrepreneurship, and there's this togetherness there. So one thing that I really like about your center, and what I don't see, replicated across the country, is you've really tapped into technology. You run an advanced manufacturing center, and you were running that when a lot of, Black people didn't know what advanced manufacturing was. So, we see a lot of new technology out there, whether it be blockchain, whether it be artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality. And that's really where you see, these high growth companies living in that space.
Yep.
And a lot of our businesses aren't in that. We're still in the traditional, businesses, and we're not in the high growth businesses. So can you just talk about how you're really leveraging, your advanced manufacturing to tap into some of that, Black tech pipeline that you have there?
Well, it doesn't hurt to be at Georgia Tech. So, we have to, walk the talk and talk the walk, So, so I've, really been blessed to be at Georgia Tech. Being at an institution of higher education, particularly a Georgia Tech, a lot of the knowledge you just really get by osmosis. You just hear, I am immersed in this environment, pretty much 24/7 every day. And so I can remember one time a few years ago, we took some manufacturers to Oak Ridge Laboratory to look at technology transfer. And we were looking at, back then it was the 3D printer and carbon fiber. They're doing a lot of work around, making fiber that's lightweight, that can, be as strong as something that weighs 2 tons. It can hold something that's 2 tons, but it might be as light as my jacket. So they're doing that kind of research. And it was really interesting because everybody was like really in awe. And I was saying, wow, they don't know about this stuff. This is really kind of old technology, So being here, at Georgia Tech and the community has embraced Georgia Tech and vice versa. We have an advanced technology development center here where we have, I have 2 what they call catalysts. We call them MBDA at ATDC catalysts, where they are inside of the Advanced Technology Development Center to identify Black businesses, BIPOC, as you well know, BIPOC founders, to bring them into this environment to get engaged. And then we're working with Morehouse on some, helping them find a connectivity with their students and faculty in the HBCU and the minority serving institution area. We got a grant from MBDA called the Inner City Innovation Hub. We rebranded it to the MBDA, Southeast MBDA Business Hub, where we're looking at a way to dynamically connect the ecosystems, because there are a lot of ecosystems and many of them are operating in silos, and then there's some interconnectivity. So we're really working to help figure out how to get our entrepreneurs and our founders and our business people through the journey of connecting to the right ecosystem to grow their businesses. So we do a number of things. We sponsored some students to go to South by Southwest. We hire students in the MBDA Center from Georgia Tech. And so interestingly enough, we hire diverse students, whether they're students of color or Caucasian students, because we want them also to interact with our community, right? When they go out and they bring great skills. So we have we work with a number of organizations that are focused on, growing the talent. Talent is a challenge that, so I don't think we are without entrepreneurs who are into tech, but finding, Black people who are technologists to go inside of companies, to go into a Google or Microsoft. Of course, it starts at K through 12. We know that. So here at Georgia Tech, we have a program, that's been around for a while, a center focused on K through 12, and that works in the community to help get more of our Black kids into tech and just figuring out how to make it interesting for them, how to connect the STEM, to a video game, or because gaming is big here. So, and a lot of kids play games, but if you can show them how they can make a game, all of a sudden they're hooked. It's, oh, wow. So, I could go on and on, but I think that, we're not without there, Atlanta has really become sort of the startup capital of the South. So we have quite a number of companies that are, launched here, scale, grow. So, the technology model is a little bit different from other models. That, you really start a technology company so you can get bought, and then you go and you start another one.
Yeah. And I want to touch on something because you said something really profound there when you were talking about it starts early on. You know, we've been talking about STEM for years, and they call it STEAM. You know, because they want to focus on the arts. But what's often left out in that conversation is when you're growing up. I mean, you can only see and you can only imagine things that are visible to you, right? So for instance, growing up as a Black man, success I saw was, from athletics, from entertainment, whether it be music, whether it be, acting. I didn't see a lot of successful Black business people. So that wasn't a path that was natural for me. It was something that I had to learn, figure out, and force. So, some of this, we like you mentioned, we have young talent, but there's not a path to there that they can visibly see. There's no one in the neighborhood they can point to that's running $1 billion successful tech company. So what I want to do, as you've seen, especially, since the George Floyd murder, you've seen a lot of focus on Black funds, and you have a lot of high net worth individuals, a lot of them Black, who are starting these funds, and they're very well intentioned and they're very helpful. They can run anywhere from $10 million funds, some as high as 250. But in the capital market, a $250 million fund, it might sound big, but it's small, right? I mean, these banks have $6 trillion of assets under management. So your $250 million fund is not going to do a lot. But what I want to talk to you about, what's necessary, and you mentioned ecosystem, and I want to focus on that, is we need to start pooling some of our money together. The statistic that, Black people have buying power of $1 trillion. But it's not $1 trillion if we're not, using it together to institute change. So what do you think it's going to take to really start being intentional about pooling some of this money together to really change our communities?
Well, it's going to take a lot of intention and time. And I say this because, Henry, it was really interesting when we started the center, and I still have the documents. When we started the center years ago, I actually put a proposal together for a minority investment network, right? We did a lot of work, went to the Angel Capital Association. That's where I met Golden Seeds, which is the fund, big angel group that funds women-owned companies, founders. And I said, well, that's a diverse, a minority group, if you will. So let's look at their model. And I think I was a little bit ahead of my time. I had the vision, but we didn't have the resources, and didn't really know where to go and how to make that happen. But now I see it evolving. It has evolved. We didn't even have funds back then. We have them now. Okay. There are a lot of silent investors, high net worth people who are investing silently. In fact, they just did an article on a guy here I know, Mike Ross, who has a big construction firm, and Mike has invested in like 7 of the big tech companies, black owned, Black founded tech companies here that have taken off. And he's been doing it quietly. And I saw him the other night, we were at a meeting, and I said, oh, I didn't know you were doing that kind of investing. I said, okay, big money, I didn't know that, and we kind of joked around and stuff. But, that world is a world where many people prefer to remain under the radar screen. And it's going to take some work to, I think, convince them to come up out of the radar screen and to pool together for specific purposes. Now, I have my opinion about funds and investing and all of that. And I think that a lot of the tech companies, Black tech companies or otherwise, are really not without access to funds. And, assuming that they have their technology and they're doing the right things. And one of the reasons why we have our catalyst at ATDC, the MBDA at ATDC, is to ensure that our companies are following the path and getting access to the resources and things so that they can be presented to investors and stuff like that. But there's this, we were talking about scaling earlier. And there's a whole lower middle market of companies that are running at, 10 million to 30 million that really need the capital and the investment capital that would really make a difference. And not that I'm not shunning the startup world. I'm just saying that there's this whole market of established firms that, back to your original question, want to scale, know how to scale. They've been chugging along, trying to get from that 10 million to that 30 to that 50. And I think between the high net worth individuals and this untapped market, there's probably something there. Also, I also think, you have to look at the makeup of the individuals who are investing. How patient are they? Are they willing to take a less of a return in the short run in order to make a difference in the long run? I think there are a number of issues and factors that we could noodle about and put our heads together about. But there's this market out here that it's not necessarily technology, because believe it or not, people don't realize that a lot of investing is going. People think of, oh, everybody's investing in tech, but there are quite a number of people who are investing in that lower middle market, they call it, which, and I'm sure which is your manufacturing and your consumer goods and e-commerce and things like that. But we have to help our companies utilize technology. So I have a platform. We have a platform here now at the MBDA centers that technology enabled, technology owned. So I think, two types of companies. You have your tech companies that own their own technology and are going to, build their technology and sell and scale. And then you have this whole other group of non-tech companies that could very well scale if they were enabled by technology. And so I think, once you do that, then you have, you have a perfect storm for scaling companies at a relatively rate, because they already are there. They're already there. Many of them have the appetite. They just don't know how. You know what I mean?
I agree, but Don, I'm gonna follow up on that because, and me, I don't mind, putting my hand to the fire and say things that aren't popular. But we are very quick to come together when it comes to either boycotting a company that we know is doing wrong or not as moving as fast with diversity as we'd like it to be, or who's not opening doors for, our Black talent. But when it comes to the economic power that we have ourselves, why does it seem like there's there's not this focus to work together? I mean, every day there's this new fund, and I just laugh and I talk to, my friends in the, equity business. Is like, why do we don't need $110 million fund.
I know, $130 million fund, $300 million, right, I know.
Right, working together. So, I mean, what's it going to take to say, hey, guys, we're on the same team. You're not competing. We're not competing against each other. There's enough money to go around. I'm going to eat. You're going to eat. We need to be intentional about having the same energy that we have when it comes to boycotting or asking other people to spend, and just coming together and directing our money where we know it needs to go.
So honestly, I think you're asking the wrong person that question. I think it would behoove you to pull some fund managers together and ask them that question. Why are you doing a $30 million fund or $100 million fund? Why there's $100 million, there's a $30 million, there's a $50 million. Why together, why aren't we doing a $500 million fund? Or, you know what I mean? So it really is a question for the community, the funding, the investment community that's doing that. It really is. Because, I don't know. I have no answer for that question.
Well, the reason I ask you is because, you've done great work in the community and minority. You've done the hard part, which is gaining the trust of these minority
And we
businesses.
still have trust issues though, Henry. We
Mhm.
really do. I mean, you know, real talk, we really do. We still have trust issues. And you know, that's a whole nother show or two or three or four. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just really the breaking down our internal barriers and our internal silos. For me, is oftentimes harder than you know, breaking down the external ones. And it's just really, really difficult. It's really difficult. You don't have an answer for it. I just think we keep pecking away at it because that's why I gave the example of when I first started in this business and I wanted to put you know, in a minority investor network. That's what we call it. I still have my paperwork. We used to do financial roundtables, and we were going to get everybody together and start investing in Black businesses. And we didn't have the resources, but over the years, you know, it started percolating. Here we are. So I would say it's time for that next wave. That we've got our funds and we know how to do this work. So let's put it together, you know, and see what happens.
Well, yes, let's put it together. Once again, Donna, I really thank you for jumping on. I still watch what you guys are doing in Atlanta from afar, and I really love the passion and more importantly, the commitment to the cause. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me.